Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is continuing the rejection from this significant area of resistance as the price is now flashing a new signal in the short term that we need to pay attention to, while the price of Ethereum is continuing to test this massive area of support on the larger timeframes, while the price of Solana is also still flashing this short-term signal, and the price of XRP is now starting to reject from this significant area of previous support, now acting as new resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before we take a look at the Bitcoin charts today, taking a quick look at the US stock market today. This is the Nasdaq 100 index on the weekly time frame, and obviously, as I've been saying for a while now on the channel, clearly, especially just recently, we've officially confirmed a bear market for the US stock market. But of course, for over a month now on the channel, I've been talking about this massive bear market signal that confirmed roughly 1 month ago, telling us that we're about to enter a bear market. But once again, as I said in my last video just yesterday, we've just recently confirmed an oversold signal in the weekly RSI for the Nasdaq 100 index for the first time in multiple years, since around mid-2022. And if we're simply looking at the last time this signal confirmed on this time frame for the Nasdaq 100 index, we did actually see a bit of a short-term relief, just a bit of a bounce for the stock market over the next few weeks or so, but not necessarily the end of the bear market. And so in order to be confident that the bear market is officially over and a new bull market is starting, we need to see a breakout, ideally in the RSI, above this area in the RSI, above around 45 to 55, because usually during the bear markets, we actually use this area as resistance and potentially reject from this area multiple times, as we saw in the last bear market during 2022. And then once we officially confirm a breakout above the center line, above this middle area in the RSI, and then start flipping that into new support, that is a sign of a bull market. And so once again, we might end up seeing a bit of a short-term bounce, maybe a little bit of a relief in the coming weeks, potentially based on this oversold signal, but just don't necessarily expect a massive new bull market straight away, considering at least for now, the bear market is still currently playing out. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, and in case you're new to all of this, I'm covering the stock market on this channel because the stock market and the crypto market are highly correlated. So of course, if the stock market's in a bearish market, usually Bitcoin and crypto is going to be in more of a bearish market, as we've seen recently. They are highly correlated, obviously. And so here on the 4-day Bitcoin price chart, obviously the super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, indicating a larger bearish trend, kind of like what we saw in the 2022 bear market, or around back in mid-2021, for example, during that larger bull market. But if we're taking a look at this weekly time frame right here, of course, the weekly Bitcoin MACD is still currently in the red, still looking more bearish than it is bullish. And we are continuing to see a small amount of bearish momentum in the histogram within the MACD indicator. Obviously, it's not yet reversing back fully towards the upside, but with that being said, just in recent weeks, it has somewhat slowed the amount of bearish momentum, the change in bearish momentum compared to roughly 1 month ago. And so once again, it's still bearish, as we're seeing here in the price of Bitcoin. We're still seeing bearish price action, just not necessarily very steep bearish price action, kind of like what we saw back here close to a month ago. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, obviously we still have a significant bearish divergence, which is actively playing out on this time frame for the price of Bitcoin, as I've been warning about pretty much every day since the beginning of this year, close to all-time highs. And so overall, on the larger time frames, yes, from time to time we can see little short-term bounces here and there, short-term reliefs, like I just said, for the stock market. Potentially we may be in for a bit of a relief at some point in the next couple of weeks, give or take, but overall the larger situation is still not looking too good. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, obviously we've perfectly continued the rejection from this area of resistance, sitting in between 86,000 to 88,000. So if we can actually get back up there, obviously continue to expect a lot of resistance, especially close to that 88k level. And as for support, we have a lot of support for the price of Bitcoin, starting at close to 74,000, and obviously that's very close to where the price of Bitcoin actually bounced from just recently at basically just above 74,000. And so especially in this area in between around 70,000 to 74,000, I would expect a lot of support around there. That is a significant area on the price chart, considering previously it was very significant resistance, and usually when we break out above significant resistance, that flips into new support. And also looking at the volume profile indicator on this Bitcoin chart, we have a lot of traded volume at close to 70,000 and just below 70,000, which will also likely act as strong support. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, obviously, at least for now, on this daily time frame, we're still clearly trending in the bearish direction, forming lower highs and lower lows, with this descending line of resistance still intact, and that's currently sitting at roughly around 84,000. So if we see a bit of a short-term bounce, obviously expect resistance at that line, once again at close to 84,000. And if we're taking a look at this daily time frame, we are possibly forming a new bullish divergence, but I want to make this clear, at least as of right now, this possible new bullish divergence is not currently confirmed. It is not in play, at least not yet. But of course, we are currently forming lower lows in the price in the candle closes. Potentially, if we confirm this candle close right here below these previous candle closes that we saw around the 10th or 11th of March, then in that case, obviously, it would have a lower low in the price, but would still have to confirm this higher low in place in the daily Bitcoin RSI, with some sort of bounce actually confirming in the RSI in the coming days. And so we're potentially still a couple of days away from actually confirming this possible new bullish divergence at the earliest. And of course, if we continue this pullback here, creating lower lows in the RSI below this previous low, in that situation, there's no divergence at all. If there's lower lows in the price and lower lows in the RSI, obviously they're not diverging. And so that's why we need to wait for confirmation, with some sort of bounce actually confirming the higher low in place in the RSI in the coming days. And obviously, if we don't see that, then the bullish divergence simply just does not confirm and does not start playing out. And if you want to get set up ready to go to take these trading opportunities in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I'm taking a lot of my crypto trades over on 2bit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to $50,000. Yes, 50,000 US dollars as a trading bonus onto your 2bit account, but only if you use that link. And in case you're not one of these larger traders here, you can still claim a $30 sign up bonus using the link below this video, and also a 20% deposit rebate up to a max of 200 USDT. So for example, if you deposit $1,000, you get a $200 bonus, but once again, only if you use that link. And on top of all of that, if you use the link below this video to 2bit, you're automatically upgraded to VIP level 1 trading fees, which basically means you get a massive discount on trading fees, lowered trading fees over on 2bit, but once again, only if you use the link below this video. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want 2bit as an exchange, there's also Bitfinex as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitfinex below this video as well. And in case you're wondering, if you use that link, you can get a massive 10% discount on all trading fees over on Bitfinex. But that massive fee discount, which by the way lasts forever on your Bitfinex account, that massive fee discount is only available if you use that link. And in case you're wondering, Bitfinex is also a no KYC exchange as well. But with that being said, zooming into the shorter term Bitcoin price charts here on the 4-hour time frame, obviously over the last 1 day or so, we pretty much perfectly rejected from that resistance level that I talked about recently here on the channel, sitting at around $80,000. And so we can clearly see that this previous line of support at once again 80,000 is now acting as new resistance. So once again, if we see a continued bounce here in the short term, expect resistance at 80,000. And if we were to see a confirmed breakout with candle closes confirming above $80,000, in that situation, it would have more resistance at roughly 81,500, more resistance at around 83,500, and also 84,500. And obviously we have that descending line of resistance at close to 84,000 and strong resistance at closer towards 88,000. And so obviously we still have a lot of resistance for the price of Bitcoin. And now that we're trading back below this level right here at 78 remains 0.5k, I'd now expect resistance at that level once again. And so that is the current situation for the price of Bitcoin. And honestly, I'll not be surprised if the price of Bitcoin plays out a bit of choppy sideways price action within this area, potentially in the coming days or weeks, if the US stock market temporarily slows the bear market with a bit of a short-term relief from this oversold signal. Because once again, crypto and stocks are highly correlated. So once again, as I said earlier in the video, if we see a bit of a relief in the short term for the stock market, expect maybe a bit of a sideways consolidation or maybe a slight bullish relief for Bitcoin, possibly playing out this bullish divergence if we see that for the stock market. But that is a big if. But remember, overall, whether or not we see a short-term relief, either way, we are simply still within a bear market for the stock market, which is also bearish for crypto. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, right now, obviously Ethereum is still very much within this larger bear market, as I've been saying for a long time now on the channel, but we're also now running into very important support for the price of ETH, and that's sitting at around 1.4k to 1550. So roughly around 1,500 as major previous support. And if we actually see a break below around 1.4k with especially a weekly candle close below this support, in that situation, we could likely see a continued drop down towards around 1.1k, just above 1.1k, more specifically around 1130 to 1150 approximately. And if we break below that low right there, I would expect a continued move down towards almost $1,000. That is right, the much lower $1,000 area will be coming next for the price of ETH if we actually break below 1.4k, which at least for now has not yet happened. And so there's still a small amount of hope in the short term for the price of ETH, with the price still running into this support. But once again, if we break that support, we're looking at potentially another 20% dump coming next in the price of ETH on top of everything that's already happened. And remember, as I've been saying for a long time now on the channel, despite seeing the occasional bounce in the short term, which we can do from support levels like this, of course, the larger trend is still bearish. So even if we see a bit of a relief or a bounce from this support, technically speaking, we are still within a bear market, even if we see that in the short term. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at Solana on the weekly time frame, it's a somewhat similar situation for Solana. Obviously, the larger trend is simply still bearish for Solana, especially ever since we broke below around 120. And first of all, ever since we broke below around 170, that was the point where I started targeting these much lower price targets. But especially once we broke below 120, basically we head down towards that $90 area, and around $90, that's the next major price target for the price of Solana. And so technically speaking, we've not fully hit the $90 price target. We've hit around $95 approximately. So we've gotten very close to $90, but technically speaking, once again, that's still a price target that is in play based on this massive rising wedge pattern. And I'd now expect this previous area of support to become new resistance. So if we see a further bounce in the short term, expect a lot of resistance in between around 120 to 130. And if we're taking a look at the daily Solana chart, obviously, at least for now, we're still possibly forming a bullish divergence. But just like I said for Bitcoin earlier in the video, even though we technically have lower lows in the price and higher lows forming in the RSI, we've not yet fully confirmed the bullish divergence. Obviously, we've not really seen a proper bounce here in the RSI to actually cement a higher low in place. And so for now, this is still just a signal that is forming, just a signal that is flashing on the chart, but is not confirmed. It is not currently playing out. We still need to wait for more confirmation here. And if we see that confirmation, we may end up seeing a slight bullish relief, or at the very least some choppy sideways price action. So basically just a break or a relief from all of the bearish price action in the shorter term. But remember, that is only if we actually confirm this bullish divergence. And even if that happens, that does not necessarily mean the larger bearish trend is over. It may end up just being a bit of a short-term break, a short-term relief during a larger bearish trend. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the 3-day time frame, obviously, at least for now, this massive bearish divergence is still actively playing out, as I've been saying for many months now on the channel, since much higher prices. And if we're taking a look at the 12-hour time frame, obviously right now as of recording this video, the price of XRP is currently retracing in the short term, coming in for another test of this descending line of support for this descending parallel channel. And this line of support is currently sitting at around $1.74 to $1.75. And so obviously it's possible we could see another bounce from that support, but either way, even if we do see another bounce here, technically the trend is still simply bearish. We're forming lower highs and lower lows within a descending parallel channel. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour time frame, just over the last one day, in fact, in a matter of hours ago, we actually saw a rejection from this previous area of support, now acting as new resistance. And so of course, this is bearish price structure. Anytime we break below a key point of support and flip it into new resistance, that is simply price structure that is heading in the bearish direction. So overall, obviously, we don't really have a lot of good news for the price of XRP right now. We're simply just looking bearish, and some price targets to the downside are, for example, around $1.60, and also once again around $1.74 to $1.75 as major points of support. And I talked about some other points of support for the price of XRP in my last video here on the channel as well. But even though the market is bearish right now, that does not mean we should all just leave crypto and that crypto's over and that there's no opportunity right now to make money. In fact, it's the exact opposite. We can make money no matter what the price is doing, for as long as there's just simply some volatility in the price. As crypto traders, we can make money using things like long positions when the price is bullish and short positions to actually profit during bearish price action. And so once again, as crypto traders, bearish price action should not be a worry. We can use short positions to actually profit during this time in the market, just like how we're profiting during a bull market. But if those sort of crypto trades are not really your thing, obviously you can still benefit from this bearish price action by just waiting for lower prices to accumulate cheaper crypto assets if you're sitting in, for example, stable coins on the sidelines. But honestly, one of the worst mistakes that anyone can actually make during a bearish market is simply ignore the market altogether. A lot of people tend to do that. In fact, most people tend to do that. Whenever the market flips bearish, most people tend to just ignore whatever's going on. They don't want to look at their portfolios. They don't want to look at the price charts. But honestly, that is one of the biggest mistakes you can actually make. And that's coming from experience, because personally, I've been in crypto since 2017, so many years now. And personally, I made a bit of that mistake during the 2018 bear market. I kind of ignored crypto during 2018. And obviously, those were some good prices to actually buy in at. And after making that mistake back then, I've never made that mistake ever again. During the 2020 crash, I bought crypto. During the 2022 bear market right here, I was buying crypto. And from now on, and ever since 2018, once again, I've been paying attention to the crypto markets. So if this is your first cycle, I'm letting you know right now so that you don't even have to make the mistake to begin with, to basically just don't ignore crypto altogether when the market is bearish. Keep paying attention every now and again, because that is when the opportunities are at their biggest. But with that being said, taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, and right now Chainlink is obviously still trading just above this major point of support at around $10, but of course still below the previous Fibonacci level of support, now acting as resistance at around 1270 to 1280. And we're also still possibly forming a new bullish divergence on the daily time frame. But like I've said throughout this video, this possible new bullish divergence is not currently confirmed. It is not in play. And so overall, not a lot has changed for the price of Chainlink over the last one day. Technically speaking, these levels are still in place on the price chart as support and resistance, and technically the larger trend, at least for now, is still currently bearish. But with that being said, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, once again, check out those links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto, no matter what the price is doing, whether the prices are bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, you can profit from all of that price action by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.